bring up Ted Rubin from Collective Bias and the author of Return on Relationships. Our morning keynote.
How you doing, everybody? So excited to have you here. I'm wearing this hat. This is a dedication to Jeff Ogden, Marketing Made Simple TV. I'm not going to keep it on the whole time, but I just want to make him feel welcome. He's always wearing hats. And you know, we're a hat group. We do a lot of things at Collective Bias to unite us as a company. So and to build our personal brand. So I wear funky socks. Okay, and I'm known for my socks. I posed them. My business partner, John, want to show me your socks? Damn, same socks. Not a coincidence. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself, just to put things into perspective. I got involved in this space in 1997. I joined a really cool company called Yo-Yo9. That was run by a guy named Seth Godin, who you guys probably heard of. Matter of fact, one of my old Yo-Yo alumni, Indira, stand up, Indira, come on, is here in the audience. I have not seen Indira, I don't know in how many years. We've been communicating first via email and all the beginnings of social. And then now on the new platforms, and she just reached out and said, wow, I saw you speaking at this thing. Should I come? She's here. So what's really kind of cool is that I got a view of this stuff all the way from the beginning. You know, any of you guys remember that they called this? Can everybody hear me, by the way? Is it okay?
No.
No,
Not at all.
Now can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Man, I used to be able to project a lot better. So back in 1997, you guys remember when it was called new media? But it wasn't new media, right? It was just old media in a new package. I believe today is really the era of new media. The democratization of content. You know, anybody can build a brand. It's remarkable what's going on. So I call it the age of influence. Anybody can build a brand. They can support any kind of movement. They can start their own movement. And back then, e-commerce was simply catalogs online. So we've really evolved, and I've been around to see this whole kind of thing happen. And I recently wrote a book, and Seth gave me a quote for it. And I have to say that a lot of my thinking when it comes to relationships and return on relationship started back in those days when Seth coined a term that all of you guys are probably very familiar with called permission marketing, right? You all know that? Well, Seth Godin coined that term in 1997, put it into an article with Fast Company in 1998, and subsequently wrote the book. And it's all history from there. He's written, what, about 12 or 15 since then. He had written a bunch before then, but they were more or less just self-help books. So I like to talk about relationships, and I call them the new currency. Now, all you guys are probably looking and going, but relationships have always been currency, right? It's always been that way. But the difference now is how we can scale relationships and how we can build them 24/7 without going to events like this, although these are great to be at, and I'll get into that at some point. Please bear with me. My head is like a Twitter feed, okay? Tweets are just going through it all the time, thought process, so I jump around a lot. I might skip some things, I might go somewhere else. You guys got two choices. You can either let me go wherever I'm going if you're liking it, or you can say, hey, whatever happened to finishing that statement you were talking about? And I'll be happy to back it up and go back to it. So let's be a little interactive. Feel free to kind of call me on it. But relationships now scale. And one of the things a lot of you guys probably hear either in your own businesses or if you work for big companies is, how do we scale this stuff? There's only so many people, there's so many tweets coming in, there's so many posts on Facebook, there's so many interactions. But the truth is, most people don't want to talk to you. Most people are lurkers. Most people are watching what's going on. So when you hear a lot of those gurus and experts, and by the way, I want to make something really clear right from the start, I'm not a guru, I'm not an expert. I'm a guy with opinions who's not afraid to voice them, try them out, and test what I did, whether it's specifically directly related to brands, or it's for my personal brand, or it's for my company. So getting back to the scale of relationships, when you communicate with people, there's thousands, sometimes millions of people watching. And they feel that they're participating by seeing you participate with somebody else. So when you answer a query on Twitter and you don't take it to direct message or take it offline and you answer it publicly, everybody else is participating vicariously. So it does scale, and it scales tremendously. So I like to talk a lot about fans and friends, which we all know a lot about, right? Those words of, you know, the word friend has been co-opted by Facebook, right? Okay, they did an I mean, God bless them, amazing marketing job. They now own the word friend. Now I'll tell you something remarkable. When I tweet that, I actually get people that I respect, I'll say that carefully, who write back and go, really? Do they own it? Did they trademark that? Of course not. What they do is they own it in our minds. They own it because that's perception, and perception is reality. So I talk a lot about, let's take that word friend back and add value to it again. Because it's not just clicking a button. How many of you guys are parents? Okay? I'm a divorced dad of teenage girls. It has its challenges. We won't go there. That could be a session unto itself. But what I do is I'm watching them, and I see them online, and they're talking about all their friends, and this is my, like the first time it hit me, this was a couple of years ago, and I said, you know, you guys, where are your friends? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing tonight? Well, I got 500 friends. I'm like, really? Show them to me. So I open up Facebook, and they start pointing. I'm like, what's that person's name? I don't know. What about that one? I don't know. It took me like 5 minutes to get to someone they actually knew. And that was scary, but what's scarier, because I'm not worried about them online and who they're connecting with, what's scary to me is that we're all doing that in this room. All you guys, all the brands, all the executives are considering people that like their brand or friend them on Facebook a friend, without actually doing what we've done over the years to make people friends. Look them in the eye when you talk to them. Let them know you're concentrating on them. So I call this looking people in the eye digitally. And we'll get into that in a little while about how you do that. But let's talk again about this. Is it an audience or is it an asset? I prefer to look at it. I might use the word audience because people recognize that, they understand it. If I said, hey, I'm out there communicating with my assets, I don't know if people would understand that. So there's two different things. There's thought process, and then there's what people understand. But let's think of our audience as an asset. It's something you're building every day. Nurture it. Grow it. Friends have value, and then do for people without expectation of anything directly in return. And you'll be amazed at the results. Now, people look at me sometimes and they go, hey, but you're the return on relationship guy. It's a term I've been using since 2009. I've evangelized it. I'm a brand. I think it's really, really important. I talk about ROI, ROR versus ROI. And they say, how can you say do something for others with an expectation? Return is an expectation. But what I'm saying is, don't expect anything directly in return. Understand that a brand is what you do. And by the way, it's going to be a slide later, but I kind of have to throw it in now. A brand is what you do. A reputation is what people remember. So if you're out there doing things, doing good for people, you'll be amazed at how it comes back to you. I have people all the time reaching out to me, offering to do stuff for me. And for a while, it was puzzling because we all have that natural instinct to say, why do you want to do that for me? You know, what's in it for you? You know, what's going on? Look at the back door. Check them out. Look at them on LinkedIn. Are they real? We hear all this stuff about people online that aren't real. But the truth of the matter is, people say to me all the time, it's because I see you do it for other people. You know, I built a big reputation in the blogging community when I was at Elf Cosmetics, eyesupsface.com. In 2008, 2009, I built the largest presence for a brand in the cosmetics field in social. And I grew the business from about $10 to $12 million to over $50 million and became an inline brand at Target almost exclusively using social media. No marketing budget, zero. Manpower, that was it. So it's a matter of understanding how to leverage those things. What do I do with that? Okay. And then we have to talk about how do we do that? How do you build relationships? Well, a lot of it is about relevance. If you talk to people about something that they have no interest in, are they going to listen to you? We all hear about content right now. Content is king. How many have heard that expression? Content is king. Content rocks. Content is king. But guess what? Without a queen, what's going to happen there? No kids. Maybe. No continuing of the family. So what I like to say is, if content is king, then connection is queen. And then context brings it all together. So that has to do with relevancy. When you talk to people about things they're interested in. Now here's something you got to really recognize. Don't think they're interested in what you think they're interested in. Because very often that's not what it is. And when it comes to social, something that brands are missing dramatically is if you talk to a legacy brand is a brand that's been around for a long time. For those of you who might not understand the term. You talk to a legacy brand, they'll say, well, we know our customers. We've been selling them at retail for 35 years. We've been selling them digitally for the last 15. How long have you been interacting with them socially? Your audience is different in every environment. So start listening and understanding that. So you hear all the time that you can connect with thousands of people. I mean, it's awesome. People say, oh my God, we went from 5 Twitter followers to 100,000 in 6 months. Did you connect with any of them? Did you touch any of them? Even if you only connect with a few, the others watching will feel that. When was the last time you were at a cocktail party? Last month or so? The majority of people aren't talking. What are they doing? They're listening. If everyone was like me and just spouted off the mouth all the time, nobody would hear. And that's why, another reason, that social media, write this down, don't forget this, tell this to your brands, social media is about women. It ceases to exist if there are no women. There is none. Men don't communicate that way. We talk at each other. I wait till he's done talking, and while he's talking, I think about what I'm going to rebut him with, what I'm going to come back or what I want to say. And when he's done, I start talking. Women communicate. Men rarely do. How many guys go into a store, take a picture of a shirt, and send it out to 10 of their friends? Besides Rick Trent. Seriously. Now, some of us might send it to one guy. Guys have their guy. When I want to buy a computer, I call my computer guy. I can't take in 10 opinions. I'm not capable of figuring out all that data. I just want one guy to say, buy the Mac Air. It's awesome. Get the 13-inch screen. Thanks, I'm done. Okay, now women, they'll send that to 10 of their friends. They'll get opinions. They'll worry about it. They'll try on 3 different things. They'll take it home, and one of their friends will come back and go, nah, and it goes back to the store. Okay, if a guy gets home and someone doesn't like it, he throws it down in the corner, and that's where it stays. So, I had a real lucky experience when I was at Elf Cosmetics, because I got to do social in the early days at a company that had some major things going for it. Number one, we sold to women. Awesome. Number two, we sold an aspirational product. Women love cosmetics, right, ladies? Let's be honest. I know there's that one or two that might say, I'm not really unaware, but women love it. They become little girls again. When you send a box of cosmetics to women, invariably, the message you get the next day is, oh my God, I was up all night playing with my new stuff. Right? It's social. They share it. They take pictures of it. So that's where a lot of my experience came from, where I learned that if you're just connecting with thousands, and you're not connecting one by one, that you're not doing what's really valuable with this platform. I can connect 24/7, and when I make a direct connection with Helena, is that how you put it? With Helena, other people are watching and understanding it. And that's how you grow relationships. So let's think about this for a second. Platforms, they're there as a tool. They're not the relationship itself. How many brands have you heard say, well, we're on Facebook, we got a page, got a Twitter handle, it's really cool. 5 minutes? What, are you cutting me short? Seriously? No, who wants this to go a little bit longer than 5 minutes? Thank you! Okay, well, I got so much more to go through, but let's just talk about a story about a brand that totally gets it. People have heard me talk about this before. JetBlue. Who've heard me tell the JetBlue story before? Okay, good, most of you have. Well, JetBlue, back in 2009 and 2008 was having a problem, right? Planes weren't taking off the runway, they were getting stuck, they had a lot of problems, they were trying to fix it. Well, I was on one of those flights towards the tail end of it, going to Austin, Texas, to South by Southwest. I was on the runway for 2 hours, no answers, not knowing what's happening. I finally fired up my Wi-Fi hotspot, and I tweeted out, love you JetBlue, but what's going on today? Within 60 seconds, somebody communicated with me. It's about engagement. They weren't taking the plane off because I tweeted them, but they started giving me information. The flight attendants didn't have it, and within 5 minutes I knew that our bags were on the New Orleans flight, and the New Orleans bags were on our flight. So being a guy that doesn't understand the logistics of the airline industry, I said, so what's the big deal? Take them off one thing, pick them up, put them on the other plane. I'll go off the plane and help you. Now, instead of just saying, we can't do that, and because I wouldn't really take that kind of an answer, they started answering me. They started talking about logistics, about not being able to take baggage off an airplane while on the tarmac, about union rules, about having to have the gate. I'm feeding this all over in the plane. So what do they do now? They engage me, they made me a hero. Everybody in the plane is clapping because I'm giving them information, and during this conversation, all of a sudden they say, we're going to be taking off in 20 minutes, we got a crew, we're going to get you in, we're going to get you out of here. So everybody's cheering. They thought it was over. I tweeted back, thanks a lot, but but hey, we're all missing our parties in Austin. How about free drinks for everybody? So of course I got the standard boilerplate back, about airline regulations, FAA regulations, we can't do that. But in a couple of minutes they offered me free movies. I told everybody in the plane, I was a hero, we took off. They have no Wi-Fi, still to this day, kind of scary 4 years later. I tweeted out, you know, to JetBlue, kudos at JetBlue, you couldn't solve my problem, but you engaged me. A month later, I'm on a panel at the CMO Club, Chief Marketing Officers, 150 Chief Marketing Officers in the audience. I'm on a panel with Morgan Johnson, Head of Communications for JetBlue. Never met him, didn't go up to him and tell him who I was or what I did. In the middle of the conversation, he starts talking about engaging his audience. And I looked at him and I said, you know, I gotta give you kudos. And he just looks at me, he starts shaking his finger. He goes, oh my God, you're the drinks guy. And he looks back at me, he goes, you're at Ted Rubin. And I said, yeah, and I'm just as bummed. I'm like, how did you know? He goes, because I was tweeting with you. Because JetBlue has an escalation policy. Back in 2009, when a guy started asking questions they couldn't answer, they passed it up to somebody that could. And now today, they have 35 employees that watch every communication. You tweet them, they will answer you. That's how you build engagement. Adobe. Adobe empowers their employees to answer questions from anybody, anywhere that's on Twitter. So how do you build trust? It's based on interaction. I'm going to go start going fast now because they're giving me that. Consistency, be true to your word, and authentic. So here's some stuff I talked about before. Listen. But don't just listen. Hear. Now people that are very into grammar and proper writing say, you know, Ted, it's hear, but make sure to listen. But then I say, no, that's not what I'm saying. Because we all listen. It's all out there. But when you're really paying attention to somebody, you've heard the expression, are you hearing me? Really hear people. Make it about them. Forget about you as a brand. What do they want? Don't be afraid of the answers. Because that's what's happening out there. All your bosses, they're afraid of what they're going to hear when they ask a question. We're not all Steve Jobs. How many of you guys hear bosses go, well, they didn't do that at Apple. Steve Jobs says that he tells people what they like. Well, are you Steve Jobs? Because if you are, tell me where your stock is. I'll buy it now. But the odds are you're not. Aim for ongoing engagement. How many of you guys are on a Twitter conversation on Facebook, and in the middle of the thing, you just walk away? You leave. You go somewhere else. It's over. You never even go back and answer the question. Would you do that on the phone with somebody? And speaking of the phone, anybody know what this is? Anybody know what this is called? iPhone, right? What's the biggest word in iPhone? Don't say I, because you're all going to say that. It's phone. There's an amazing new app. You guys have apps on your phones? Check this one out. You got to download it. Press a button, and numbers come up. You press those numbers, and someone's voice comes on the phone. It's awesome. You can actually have a conversation. They can laugh, they can cry, they can tell you their anger. You don't have to use emoticons to communicate. It's remarkable. You guys aren't using it. I'm going to challenge you guys. Pick up the phone every day and call someone you haven't spoken to in 30 to 60 days. And just say hi. And make it easy for them. Don't keep them on the phone. That's why guys don't pick up the phone when you guys call, ladies. Because we can't get off. How's your day? What are you doing? Don't you want to talk to me? Don't do that to your customers. Don't do that to the people you want to engage with. Just call them up, say, is there anything I can do for you today? When you jump off, they're going to say, no, let's talk. Great. Now you just accomplished something. Think reputation, not ranking. Forget clout, forget cred, forget all that nonsense. It's garbage. Nobody's measuring your influence or whether you're important. You are important. Connect, don't network. Network is just getting cards, building up, having a database. Connection is when I look you in the eye, when I get to know you. You guys would all get cards here today. Most of you will throw them in a drawer, or they'll stay in your pocket. You'll do nothing with them. Pick up and connect with everybody. Anybody who gives me their card, they will hear from me via LinkedIn, Facebook. I'll follow them on Twitter. And I won't just follow you or friend you. I will write a note with it. Say hello. Make it personal. It was great meeting you. I'd love to connect here. You can't tell you how much I get back in return for that. Every day I get someone going, really? No one ever writes to me here. That's connection. Remember something about him. Write it on the card. It's the girl with the pretty necklace. You know, write those things. Make little notes if you have the time. Okay, we did that already. You know what doesn't work? Is a social media problem? Is a social media program? Not being social, guys. Don't just broadcast. That's not the medium. You can do that on TV. You can do that on radio. Use this to interact. Businesses better change their framework. Because if they don't, they're going to get left behind. There's a great line by Eric Qualman. Everybody know who Eric Qualman is? He wrote Social Moments. Amazing video. He says, you want to know what the ROI of social media is? You'll be in business in 5 years. So I was recently writing about how print is falling off a cliff. It's going to disappear. Coupons, FSIs, which are the inserts you get in your papers, better find a new home. At Collective Bias, we're trying to figure out ways to do that. We're making social circulars so people can share them. And people come back and go, oh no, I know a lot of people that like print. Or my dad doesn't like an iPad. Well, guess what? I don't care. Because it's not going to be here. Print's going to cease to exist. The economics just don't work. So stop forgetting about what you think people want to do. And remember that sometimes we don't have a choice. It's going away. And listen for moments. I'm a dad of teenage girls. I went through some trials and tribulations with keeping them in my life. I learned a lot about how to connect. You don't always have to be a part of it. You can just listen. You wait for the time when somebody, whether it's a consumer or a child, needs you. I take a lot of what I learned from my daughters into being a marketer, right? You talk to your kids and you say, do it my way, I know better, I'll teach you. Marketers will say, buy our shit, we're better than anybody else. But you gotta wait for those moments when they're ready to hear from you. Because that's when you can connect. So it could be as much as my daughter needing money from me, needing me to drive her somewhere. She wants to go to Philly and her mom won't drive her. My hand goes up like this. I get 3 hours in the car with her. I'm gonna get at least 30 minutes of conversation out of that. And truth be told, just being around her, yes, as a dad, so it's not the same as a marketer, I'm absorbing that and loving it. In the Jewish religion, we call it kvelling. So loving the moment. Okay? But as a marketer, as a dad, I can also learn a lot. I listen to her on the phone. I hear things she's saying. I watch that she's using Snapchat, or maybe not anymore. And I get a lot of learning out of that, as for myself and my personal brand. Now, this is something we do at Collective Bias, where Elmer's Glue needed to communicate better with their consumers because they were talking about glue. And glue just is not that interesting. I mean, they think it is. They come in and they show you these really cool glues. And my business partner, John, from North Carolina, he's like, guys, it's glue. Okay, but what we do is we do storytelling wrapped around it, and we do it at scale. So when you search Elmer's at Walmart now, or Elmer's Glue, or go to the site glueandglitter.net, you see pages and pages and pages of do-it-yourself content, because that's how mom thinks about glue. What can she do with it, with her kids, to either build them up or just to pass the time? Social media drives engagement, engagement drives loyalty, and loyalty will correlate directly to increased sales. ROR, return relationship, equals ROI. Now this slide obviously did not go on too well, but just remember to start thinking like kids. Think about the way your children think, what they do, how innovative they are. First thing, and this is not what this is about, but let them be that way. Stop telling them to be quiet. Stop telling them to sit in their chair. Enhance, empower that creativity, but more important, do it in your workplace. Empower each other. Stop making people afraid to come up with ideas that you think are lousy. It's the only way we're going to innovate and survive. And today you're not doing it. You're afraid to raise your hand. I mean, I asked a simple question about an iPhone and I couldn't get anybody to respond. You ever see kids play with bricks or play with building blocks? They sit in their room and they're like, hey, let's try it this way. How many of you tried to dig to China when you were a kid? At the beach, right? You dig it down? Kids still do that today. Watch the way they do it. We say, oh, that won't work. Kids go, let's try it. So guess what, everybody? Let's try it. It's really simple. Only focused on the money, and I'll add something to that, and the technology, because so many guys talk, oh, I've got this great platform. You will risk overlooking the people. Real simply put, ROI is about dollars and cents. ROR is about people. Build humanity back into your brand. Build humanity back into yourself. You'll be amazed at the results. I guarantee it. You can track it. You can make it. You can take KPIs. You can set up things that are important to you. Whether it's people following you at first, or people interacting with you later, or people that are coming back for your content. And it's simple. Just be nice. Smile at people. It'll give it right back to you. Do it every day. You can improve someone's day just by smiling. And as a company or brand, you can do the same thing. It's remarkable. And empower your employees, for God's sake. Stop worrying about what they're going to say. Stop cutting off channels so they go on their iPhones under their desk. You ever remember more people are taking smoking breaks today? Smoking is not going up in the workplace. People are going out to get on their iPhones so they can tweet, so they can go to Facebook. They're doing it anyway. So I'm going to try to wrap up here because they're getting really nervous in the back. But Adobe, I'm with my daughter again. She's 16. She wants Photoshop. I'm divorced dad. Mom's telling her, oh, he's going to download it from some pirated site because he's not going to want to spend the money. You know? And of course, I go right to Adobe. I try to download it. And what's happening? Anybody here ever try to download Photoshop? Well, 9 out of 10 times it doesn't work. So I had problems, my daughter's getting all upset, oh, mom said this would happen, and I'm sitting there sweating and calling customer service, nobody's answering. So I tweeted out, hey Adobe, love your products, but having a problem downloading, what's the deal? Within 10 minutes, I got tweets back from 7 different people in different departments, not customer service, sales guys, production guys, people that are empowered to say, how can we help you? Who can we lead you to solve your problem? Real simple guardrails. They didn't answer my question if they didn't know the answer. They connected with me so that they can, within 3 days, when I had my daughter's computer, another time where I had an hour, they had a guy on the phone with me solving my problem. I am a loyal fan. I spoke at IBM conference, Adobe, one of their biggest competitors, and I told this story. And you know what? They let me. Because it's real, and it tells you about how to properly use social and empower your organization. So when someone asks me what is the ROI, this is what I answer of social media. I answer back with a question. What's the ROI of trust? And what's the ROI of loyalty? If you're a big company that's been around for a while, just ask the CEO about his loyalty program. Remember, you have to speak in his language. If you speak about fans and friends and other things, it doesn't go in there. You speak about advocacy, he couldn't care less. He wants to know things that mean something to him. Talk about loyalty. Talk about the loyalty program they had back in the day before it became a commodity. And everybody in that loyalty program had a higher average order value, a longer term value of the customer, and had more purchases in a year than anybody else. The frequency of purchase was higher. And he'll nod his head. And you'll take that data, overlay it what you do with social now, and understand that this is loyalty on steroids. Awareness equal revenues. People know about your products, they're going to buy it. Differentiators equal margins. Make it different. That can be as simple as on Twitter, I'm one of the few people. Here's a tip, do it. Create original content. Stop just tweeting out links of other people. Write your thoughts. I don't mean I have to go to the bathroom. But write something that makes sense. Less fabrication, more facilitation. Real trumps perfect every time. Make a comment about Facebook and how you have to learn to use the platform. Just because it ain't working the way you worked before doesn't mean it isn't working. Just because they're charging you now, too bad. Figure out how to make it work for you. And don't rely on those platforms. Build your own brand. Authenticity equals loyalty. If you're authentic, if you're true to your word, people will be loyal. That's all measurable, and it all leads to increased sales and profits. Relationships are the new currency. Honor them, invest in them, start measuring ROI, and remember something. Relationships are like muscle tissue. The more you engage them, the stronger they become. Thank you very much.
Don't run away yet. So, really quick, want to do any questions? Does somebody have a question specifically for Ted?
Anything. You can ask me about my socks if you want. It's cool.
Okay.
Can you pass it? What's my name?
We're recording, so we want to get you the microphone. So.
As far as I understand, you get faster responses from people who are tweeting and are on social media rather than on the phone. Why do you think that is, and why do you encourage us to pick up the phone when nobody else works in that anymore?
Well, first of all, I'm talking about relationship building. I'm not talking about customer service. Okay, but first of all, telephone customer service isn't going away. And what's happening right now, the reason you're getting a quicker answer, is because they're concentrating on the people on social, and they're saying, oh, I've got to get this guy because... So what we have to do is start training them that that's a better place. But here's also what's happening. Some companies are answering on social. What happens? You ask them a question or you complain about something, and they say, could you follow us so we can direct message you? Then you follow them, and because you play the game, and then they say, here's an email address. Answer them in public. Because when you do that, it will scale. So if you answer someone's problem, JetBlue has a saying, if one person's complaining, there's another 150 complaining with the same problem. So if we answer it publicly, I'm going to solve that problem for 150 people, and I'm going to staunch those calls to customer service and to my line. So yes, we're all getting more service when we're doing that. I can tell you 100 stories if I had more time about tweeting about something and then getting taken care of just at a hotel in Washington, D.C. the other day. But if you start doing that, it'll be more efficient. But I'm telling you to pick up the phone as an individual to build your reputation so that people say, oh my God, I can't read your name from here. It's written really small. Helen did a much better job on this. And make it easy for people. Make your name bigger. Communicate the way people want to communicate. Your kids don't want to talk to you on the phone, so text them. But do that the same thing with your consumers. Don't tweet people that are emailing you. Don't post on Facebook for people that are tweeting you. Communicate the way they want to communicate. Next question?
We'll take another question.
Anybody?
Okay, hold on.
Pleasure. And anybody who has any questions after this, I'll be around for a couple hours.
What if your target demographic is like the elderly and you're saying print media is dying? What are we going to do about that? Because they probably don't use too much Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, now, I made a comment to my business partner as we were walking here, and it was kind of crude. I would never tweet this out, but the truth of the matter is they're not going to be around much longer if they're elderly. Okay? Okay, so, no. So I don't mean that the way it sounds, and I don't want to be misquoted, but again, it was about when I was talking about the print clip and flip going away, people started talking to me in that direction. And the truth be told, a lot of those people, we're going to still communicate with them, but if newspapers disappear, then you won't be able to. So what's going to happen? There will be targeted print that goes to people that don't or are not willing to use digital. And those will survive more. A lot of the local newspapers, some of them are thriving. The ones that go out on your doorstep and talk about local events. Why? Because a lot of that is targeted to a different demographic. So I think those things will exist until they don't need to exist. Because what's going to happen with them is they're going to start falling off the cliff as well. As the constituency ages and becomes less capable of absorbing the content in that way. Does that answer your question?
They also over-index in digital use.
And they also over-index in digital usage. That's from John Andrews. Meaning that the elderly are actually using digital much more than you think they are. And remember something. Stop talking about my wife, my mom. Look at more than just what's in your sphere. Because we all tend to think the way we think instead of the way everybody else out there is thinking. I don't say what teenagers want. I watch what my daughter does. I watch it when she doesn't know I'm watching her. Just like when you ask people, why does research, has it changed? You want to really do good research? Stop doing surveys. Surveys are our biggest waste of time. People answer them the way they think you want them to answer it. Okay? Listen to people. It's out there. The conversation's going on every day. There's software. You can do it manually, which is what I do, or you can use software if you're a big, sophisticated company. And listen to people. So you'd be surprised. Don't just look at yourself. Classic example. I made the mistake as a marketer. I wanted a hashtag for return on relationship. Back in 2009, I started using ROR. Makes sense, right? But I found out very quickly that Ruby on Rails, the developer guys, use ROR. And they got pissed off. And they said I was taking over their feed. Now, I've learned there's two things. First of all, I talk about just being nice. Second of all, you don't want to piss off a bunch of coders. Doing stuff online. So I quickly changed it to R&R. Thinking that makes sense, right? Here I am thinking my return on relationship. How was I to know that for 2 years people was going to think there was some guy named Ron R. hashtagging everything he was doing? Because I didn't ask people how they were viewing it. I looked at the way I viewed it myself. By the time I realized it had already taken hold. It didn't happen. Any other questions? Okay, guys, if you're shy and you don't want to raise your hand, I'll be here for a while. My name is Ted Rubin. It's tedrubin@gmail. My phone number is 917-613-1947. Yes, I gave it out because none of you are going to call me. I know it. Okay? But you're going to tell everybody. You guys are going to tweet out, Ted Rubin just gave out his phone number. I give it out on Twitter all the time. People go, oh my God, did you realize you did that? Yes. I'm at Ted Rubin. I'm easy to find. I just wrote a book. Love for you to take a look at it. A little self-promotion never hurt. I wear vests whenever I speak. I went with the sweater vest today. Does it work, guys? What do you think? I go with it. Okay, thank you very much.